Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo, and it is Tuesday, November 28th, and I am here to chat about WWE NXT. And I know we're starting late today, but guys, first of all, I was about like a minute behind on NXT, and also the show kind of went over a little bit. It usually does, and I don't know why I set the stream to start earlier than it normally does. But anyways, we got NXT to talk about, and I'm excited about this show. I think there was some stuff that first of all, loved the main event. Can't wait to get into that. The Iron Survivor Challenge qualifier thing that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks continues to surprise me. As a matter of fact, if I feel all my predictions on this, the who was going to qualify in these matches has completely been off. And I kind of like that NXT has been sort of surprising me in a good way with the direction they've been headed in for the Iron Survivor qualifying matches. So I've been happy about that. We kind of got a lot to get into. So let's get to it. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who's been here, who's here to talk about the show. Dang, I'm excited, especially because we're only a couple of weeks away from NXT Deadline, and it's shaping up to be a pretty decent show from the looks of it so far. But let's get into these super chats. We got a first one here from Nicholas763 who says, I would love if Alpha Academy purchased Chase U to save them from debt and all graduates go to Alpha Academy main roster. That would mean that Duke, Chase Hudson, JC Jane, and JC Jane's not technically part of the Chase University. I think she's just there with them. Thea Hale, that would mean that they would all go to the main roster, but then they have a bunch of like these people that just come out in the Chase U shirts, and they could probably just use extras for that or whatever. But I would not mind seeing the Alpha Academy take over on the NXT side of things. So this is not a terrible idea. Thank you, Nicholas763. We got a brand new DWO member, King Melho. King Melho, thank you so much, and welcome to the DWO. Tim Weinerger Jr., who has been a member of the DWO for 7 months, says, can't wait for Dom to lose at Deadline. I am at it. So I do think that Dominic Mysterio should lose at Deadline. I think he should lose to Wes Lee. And the only reason I say that is I think we've gotten everything that we could possibly get from Dominic Mysterio as NXT North American champion. So I am on board with you, Tim. I think we need to start moving things along, get the belt back on Wes Lee, get him getting his groove back. And he definitely was not missing a step today in today's main event. But I think we could just start moving things along in NXT. And I do think it would probably be time for Dominic to drop the NXT North American title. I think we're good. We got quite a bit out of Dominic. I think we're all right. Let's move on to something else, you know? Darth Stevens sends in a super chat saying, happy Tuesday. We needed an Alpha Academy Chase U feud. And will Roxanne take the final spot in these Women's Iron Survivor Challenge? It feels like they want us to think that, but I think that we're just going to get into an actual matchup with, I think we're actually going to get a match between Roxanne Perez and Kiana James at Deadline, a one-on-one match, instead of either of them making it into the actual Iron Survivor Challenge, especially with the way that NXT closed out tonight, because after the main event, both women, and we'll talk more about them in a second, but both women ended up freaking fighting it out in the parking lot. Like, here's the thing. We already know that the NXT parking lot is dangerous. You can get kidnapped, beat up, or injured in the NXT parking lot. But the theme of today's show on NXT was protect your balls at all costs, because damn, we had a lot of low blows here tonight on NXT. You don't believe me? If you don't believe me, I'll tell you all about it. Hunter Tillman, who's also been a DWL member for 10 months, says the NXT parking lot is where the chaos truly is. Dude, it's been a while since they've done one of those like those parking lot brawls, because I know they had one like, oh my gosh, what feels like centuries ago. I think they should definitely do another one, because it's been a long time since they've done that. And we know that we know that the NXT parking lot is a danger zone. Hunter Tillman, thank you so much for sending in your thoughts. All right, everybody. MD89 says, protect your nuts. Dude, AU says, protect your deck. Dude, Angel Garza and Bronson Reed Man, they had a rough night. But let's get to it, guys. I want to start things off with the main events, the most exciting match of the day. So this felt like a high school reunion. Now, I've never gone to any reunion, but I've seen it in the movies. And in the movies, people go to their high school reunions. And this is literally what it felt like because we had Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, and Johnny Gargano back for the main event on WWE NXT. And this freaking main event was so much fun. So, a couple things. First and foremost, Johnny Gargano. We know, especially if you guys have been watching Monday Night Raw, I assume a lot of you guys do. You guys know that they only recently started to get things going with DIY, with Gargano and Ciampa. But prior, there wasn't anything going on with Johnny Gargano. Like, they didn't do squat with him, which was like crazy because when he came back, like the way that he came back, you would have thought, oh, with Triple H running things, given the history with Triple H running NXT, with Johnny Gargano being one of the top guys, in fact, one of the most loved guys in NXT history, and all of the classic matches that he had, you would have thought that Johnny Gargano would have been pushed to the moon and we would have been seeing all of these excellent matches on Monday Night Raw. But it did not turn out that way. And so having Johnny Gargano do this match on NXT, when he came out, man, maybe I was reading too much into this. I can't act like I know what's inside the guy's head, but he looked so freaking happy to be there. He looked like he was just so happy to see that kind of reaction and that kind of adoration from the crowd, because the reaction that Johnny Gargano got, I feel like you only see that kind of reaction for him when he's on NXT. It doesn't matter if it's the colorful NXT, the black and gold NXT. Johnny Gargano has made such a history, such an impact in NXT, period, that he gets that kind of reaction. And so seeing him kind of get that again, it had been a while. Like, you almost forgot that Johnny Gargano could get those reactions. So dude looked alive, man. When he was in this match, he looked happy. All of the cool spots that they did, which we're going to get into in just a second, were really great. So I was just happy to see Johnny Gargano in this kind of light again. And I also felt that way for another person. And that other person is Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes. How many times weren't we talking about how Cameron Grimes deserved to go to the main roster? The guy has excellent range and character. He's an excellent wrestler, very entertaining, charismatic. I mean, dude checks all the boxes. But the creative for him on SmackDown has been dull. It's been very, very dull. And there hasn't been not one glimpse of Cameron Grimes that we used to know and love on NXT on the SmackDown roster. And that is a huge bummer. And so seeing Cameron Grimes, this version of Cameron Grimes on NXT, God, we saw more of Cameron Grimes in this last 20 minutes of the show than we have during the whole entire call up on SmackDown, which is a bummer because I feel like Cameron Grimes is such a unique act and I think he can do a lot more. And so I want to see a lot more happen for Grimes, but Johnny Gargano and Cameron Grimes in particular were two guys that I felt like it was a reminder of who they are, but here on NXT. Now with Bronson Reed, it's a little bit different because I think Bronson Reed has been getting a better go at it on Monday Night Raw. And I especially have been loving what they're doing with him and Ivar. I was just talking about this on the Monday Night Raw post show that I do with Sean. And I was talking about how much I loved the match that he had with Ivar yesterday. I loved it because of the way that these guys are actually being given some depth to their storyline, where they're not just going out there and having a random ass match on Raw. No, they're actually doing more with this storyline with Ivar and Bronson Reed. And it was a lot of fun to see them mix it up in the ring yesterday and then also fight into the crowd. And now know that this has gotten even more serious between them because during this main event, we saw Ivar come out and attack Bronson Reed. And then dude literally practically decapitates his freaking head with a spinning heel kick to Bronson Reed. Like the spinning heel kick that he gave him, I was surprised Bronson's Reed's head didn't fall off. Like, that shit was sick, man. And so it was very cool to see them continue the storyline. And I truly, like, we knew it was going to continue, obviously, but I wasn't expecting it to continue here on NXT. So I thought that was a really cool aspect of this main event. But there was a lot of fun stuff that went down in this match. Like, at one point, all of the guys had Bronson Reed in the corner, and they were all doing like all of these different moves, getting their spots in on Bronson Reed, just trying to take the man down. That was freaking cool. Johnny Gargano did his spot where he does all of his dives to everybody, including one on Bronson Reed, where he like literally launches the man's body into the commentary table. And I was talking about protecting your balls, and I'm dead. Okay, so you know what? I need to post a picture for this one because me explaining it is not going to do it justice. All right, so in this match, we had a spot where Bronson Reed has, I think he has Wes Lee. Hold on, let me look at this image really quick. So he has Wes Lee, and then Johnny Gargano, like, I don't know, slingshots Cameron Grimes right into the nuts of Bronson Reed, literally face first into his balls. And then this is Bronson Reed's reaction. And so he's kind of taken out for that portion of it, but it was a really funny little moment that they had there. But this was very fun. We see all the guys at the end after Bronson Reed had been taken out by Ivar. We see Cameron Grimes, Wes Lee, Johnny Gargano just hitting each other with strikes. And then eventually Wes Lee ends up hitting his cardiac kick on Cameron Grimes, pins him 1, 2, 3, and wins the match. So what that means is that Wes Lee is indeed getting his rematch against Dominic Mysterio for the NXT North American Championship at Deadline. And that's what I mentioned earlier, that I think it's time to get the title back on Wes Lee. We got just enough of Dominic Mysterio. We're good. Thumbs up. Let's move on, you know? But we're getting a couple of super chats. Let's go ahead and see what people are thinking. This is from Will Chisholm, who says 2018 Shinsuke Nakamura would be proud of all of the low blows tonight. Oh my God. Don't remind me. Oh my God. I used to be so freaking mad at freaking Shinsuke Nakamura when he got AJ Styles with all the continuous low blows. Oh my God. I was so irritated. Will Chisholm, thank you so much for the super chat and for that reminder. Sheldon Jackson is back with his membership gifting. Just gifted 10 DWO membership. Sheldon Jackson, thank you so freaking much. Stephen Marchuli says, top 3 items on the show. 1, King is money. 2, NXT women's division. And 3, Wes Lee has it. Yeah, I think you're right on that, Stephen. All of those things that you mentioned, all of those items are definitely must-see things on NXT, that's for sure. Sheldon Jackson says, it's nice to see Ivar tap into his Ring of Honor days when he was Warbeard Hansen and that spin kick of Doom, a former challenger for the Ring of Honor world title. Dude, like, I think, because I feel like we forget, I know I forgot for like the longest time how much I used to love the Viking Raiders. Like, I used to love the Viking Raiders together. And because they made them so cartoonish, so Disney, so like bland on SmackDown for like the longest time. And then even when they went to Raw, they still kind of kept that for a while. It felt like they really watered down the team. But now, right now that unfortunately Eric is out due to injury, Ivar is just in there being sort of like reborn in a way. And that's probably an extreme word, but what we're seeing is something different with Ivar, and it's exciting. And they're actually giving us a story to care about between him and Bronson Reed. And the story is literally 2 meaty men that just want to fuck each other up. Like, that's literally what I'm getting from this story. Pardon my language, but that is exactly what we're getting between Bronson Reed and Ivar. And I am here for it. Anyways, really great main event there. I had a blast with that. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on from here, and let's get into Ilya Dragunov versus Nathan Frazier. So this one was a real fun one, and I was kind of waiting to see when Ilya Dragunov was going to get another match on the show because ever since he won the NXT championship, I don't feel like we've been seeing much of Ilya Dragunov on weekly television in terms of actually wrestling. And so they made this match between him and Nathan Frazier as we work our way to Deadline because he is going to be wrestling Baron Corbin at Deadline. And the story there is, Baron Corbin attacked Ilya Dragunov. He had been coming for his title, and now it's morphed into Baron Corbin has a better life than Ilya Dragunov. And so Nathan Frazier brought that up in a backstage segment, and Ilya Dragunov was not having it whatsoever. Like, he was freaking pissed off. So they go out there, they have this match. Nathan Frazier goes in there and he gets some pretty good offense on Ilya. He had some great moments in this match. And I will say this, though. One of the not so great moments for Nathan Frazier was he went for the Phoenix Splash. And that Phoenix Splash looks crazy as it is, right? But Ilya moved out of the way. And dude, Nathan Frazier just freaking hit the mat like a dead bug. It was not fun to see. But anyways, Ilya Dragunov was angry. He wasn't just looking to defeat Nathan Frazier. He was looking to do a lot more. So he literally power bombs him, hits him with an H-bomb, and you're thinking this match is over. But Ilya decides not to pin him after that. Instead, he decides to hit him with another H-bomb. And he doesn't pin him after that either. He then hits him with a third H-bomb and then finally goes for the pin and leaves this man practically dead on the mat. This was absolutely sick, and I want to see him continue to get these types of matches because I feel like him wanting to teach and punish people for doing him wrong is a little bit of what I'm interested in here. Like, he's not just going in there and having these competitive matches, right? He's going in there and trying to teach people lessons. And so I really liked what they did with Ilya Dragunov and Nathan Frazier here tonight. All right, let's go ahead and see what people are saying. This is from Denisha Lane, DWL member, who says, "Hey, Denise, Roxanne was fighting in the parking lot." Oh, Roxanne did a lot here tonight, and she was part of what ended up being a surprising moment for the Iron Survivor qualifying matches. But before we get to that, let's get into Chase U, because Chase U is under investigation. Now, they've been telling the story now for, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks, somewhere around there. And this all started with a picture that JC Jane saw that I don't think she was supposed to see. And then there was a little bit of what was there? Last week, I believe it was when Andre Chase was being interviewed by the media, but instead JC Jane helps him and they go away in her getaway car. So he has a press conference today. And what we learned is that Chase U is currently in an ongoing investigation. So get this. There has been suspicious activity regarding gambling and misuse of government funds. And Andre Chase says that the school is in debt and he takes full responsibility for it. So I'm curious what your guys' prediction is for this, because I feel that even though Andre Chase is the one that's taking full responsibility because he's like the leader of the university, I don't actually think that it was Andre Chase who did any of this illegal activity. I have a feeling it was someone else, and he's taking the fall to protect that other person, or maybe he doesn't know who the other person is that really did all of these things that apparently got Chase U into debt. I'm curious because here we go. This is a lot of people saying that Duke looked guilty in this. Jeff Daigle's bringing up Alpha Academy with that. I don't know. Musa858 also says Duke again for the gambling. Ender Buckley says JC sneaking up the fist in the air at one point. A lot of people seem to be thinking that it was more so of Duke Hudson. And YT also predicts JC Jane or Duke Hudson. A lot of people are bringing up JC Jane. I really do think that I don't think it was JC Jane. I think they want us to believe it was JC Jane, but I think it's Duke Hudson out of everybody, because for the longest time, there was some moments on NXT where Duke Hudson came across as sus. He really did. And they kind of dropped that for a while, and we really hadn't been seeing that anymore. So they really put a stop to it, and we weren't seeing any like weird moments with Duke Hudson anymore. And so I'm wondering if we're going back to that. Or the other thing that I'm wondering is, what if it's the person you least expect? And the person you'd least expect is Thea Hale. Because Thea Hale, she was the ultimate good girl. She was the ultimate school spirit girl. She made friends with JC Jane. She became a bad girl. What if some of those activities involved Thea Hale under the influence of JC Jane? I don't know, but I feel like that's a direction we might see happening. So if it's not Duke Hudson, I'm thinking it's Thea Hale. I think JC Jane is way too easy of an option here. She might have had something to do with it, but I do think that it's either Duke Hudson or Thea Hale. Let's see what else we're doing here. Zeno Hour brings up that Duke's previous gimmick was a poker player. Oh, I remember that. It stunk. It was awful. It was horrible. Do you remember when we sat? God, I don't even want to remember, but do you remember when we sat through a poker game on NXT? Who remembers that? I remember that. And it was one of the most boring things I remember watching. So Starry Sparks says, why not both, actually? Possibly, you're possibly right. But yeah, a lot of people here are bringing up the poker playing thing from freaking Duke Hudson. God, I don't want to go back to that though. Let's just not go back to the poker playing thing, because that was a terrible gimmick in my opinion. At least it was not entertaining when I remember watching it. Thank you. Kaden Crawford says, yes, awful. I remember that. John Deller says he will never forget. It was not good. It was terrible, actually. But here we go. Let's see what people are saying. We got a couple of super chats here, and this one is from Nicholas, who says, I'm thinking it could be Duke because Andre was out for a bit during the time and Duke had taken over for Andre. Yeah, you're right. There was that short period of time where we weren't seeing Andre Chase as much. So you're right on that. Plus the poker playing thing. Plus he was sus in the beginning and then he kind of stopped. So there's a lot of reasons for us to think it's Duke Hudson. And then Matt Logan says Kiana James should buy Chase U. Yeah, she's the business one. I could see her doing something like that. But then again, how do you explain that she can afford to buy a whole entire university? I don't think they've mentioned that she has that kind of money. I know she's all about business and stuff and trying to buy people's homes, but I don't think she could afford to buy an entire university. Why am I thinking so hard about this? All right, Matt Logan, thank you so much for the super chat as well. I appreciate that. Oh, man, NXT sucking us into this funny-ass vortex where we're thinking about, I don't even know. This is such a goofy storyline. Chase U's storylines are very goofy, and I'm thinking way too hard about a goofy storyline, although I do like it, and I hope that this is a big surprise because we need to really spice up the Chase U storyline, the Thea Hale, JC Jane storyline, because it started off really good, then it kind of died down a little bit. I was really waiting for Thea Hale to really channel her evil dark side under the guidance of JC Jane. I think they could have gone a lot darker with Thea Hale. I really do think that they could have done that. Zeno Hour says, I remember that you went on a rant about it. Oh God, I'm sure I did. I don't remember what I said, but I'm sure I did. God, all right. Let's get into the rest of things and see what else we're seeing here. All right. So let's get into the meat of this show, and that is the Iron Survivor Challenge for both the men and the women. So some interesting stuff here. I said this at the beginning, but the Iron Survivor Challenge has definitely been surprising me. Everybody that I thought was going to win did not win. Everybody who's been moving forward was not really what I expected. I didn't predict any of these qualifying matches. I didn't all of these qualifying matches have felt super random to me, honestly. And if they wanted to surprise us, I think they certainly did. So let's start with the women. We already know that Tiffany Stratton is in, Lash Legend is in, Blair Davenport is in. Well, today we got the picks from Jerry the King Lawler. He was the Hall of Famer that chose the qualifying matches for this week. And for the women, he picked Kelani Jordan versus Kiana James. I went into this thinking, yeah, Kiana James is going to win. She is going to win. That's just what I was thinking. And we didn't get that. So we got Roxanne Perez coming out during this match at one point where it looked like Kiana James had this match won already. I think she hit her 401k, or like Phoebe says, her 401k. Any Friends fans? Remember when Phoebe said 401k? Anyways, she hits her 401k, and it looks like Kiana James is about to win this match. But Roxanne Perez gets the ring bell, and she just starts ringing it, and so it distracts Kiana James, and that is how Kelani Jordan is able to hit her split-legged moonsault, and she gets the win. So Kelani Jordan is moving on into the Iron Survivor Challenge, which is kind of crazy because we literally went from like here. Things have really gone very fast for Kelani Jordan. 1 second, we didn't really know who she was. She hadn't really been featured on the show. The next thing you know, she's in the NXT Breakout Tournament, and she goes to the finals. She doesn't win because Lola Vice wins. And then all of a sudden, she's in a qualifying match, and she wins. Now, here's the thing about Kelani Jordan, and this is where I feel that I've kind of gone wrong with Kelani. So when Kelani, I feel like I always forget what she brings because she has a very sweet presence. Her character is just very wholesome. She's so wholesome. Like, that's her vibe. She has a very sweet, wholesome vibe. And so I forget this girl is so athletic in the ring. Watching her in this match today, there was not one part of me that doubted that she should have won. And she did. I thought she did phenomenal in this match. And as I was watching it, I was thinking, she's done great in her other matches too. So why was I counting her out? I was counting her out because she is such a sweet presence. I don't know how else to explain it. She's just a sweet, cutesy presence on the show. So I feel like that is the thing that had kind of kept me from thinking that Kelani Jordan was going to get the win. And also because things have been happening for her very, very fast. But you know what? She was freaking impressive in this match. And I'm excited to see Kelani Jordan move on to the Iron Survivor Challenge. And it's kind of impressive to see how speedy things have been going for her on the NXT roster. So consider me a fan of Kelani Jordan. I'm liking what we're seeing here. And so Kiana James, at the end of the show, we do see her in a parking lot fight with Roxanne Perez. So I am expecting to see Roxanne Perez versus Kiana James over on NXT Deadline have a one-on-one match. Now, keep in mind, I should mention this now too, that on NXT, they did say that there's going to be 2 second chance matches taking place next week on NXT. They didn't exactly say who or what, but there's going to be a second chance match. So everyone who lost a match is going to get a second chance at getting into the Iron Survivor Challenge. So we'll see how that works itself out, but I'm not expecting to see Roxanne or Kiana in it. I'm thinking that they're both going to be out and have a one-on-one match, but that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. So anyways, we have one more spot left for the women. We still don't know who is going to take that spot. But right now, it's really looking like, to me, my pick for the Iron Survivor Challenge to win this thing, it's Blair Davenport, guys. Blair Davenport is, I think, the most advanced person in there. And so I want to see Blair Davenport get this win at NXT Deadline. Maybe I'll change my mind once we see the 5th person, but right now it's definitely Blair Davenport. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and get into the men's Iron Survivor. So, for the men's Iron Survivor Challenge, we already have Dijak, Trick Williams, Josh Briggs, and Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker qualified today after defeating Eddy Thorpe. I didn't like this match. I thought this match was a little dull. And Eddy goes out there. He's got tape on the ribs, and He ends up taking a spear from Bron Breakker. Bron Breakker gets the win. This one was pretty much like we knew Bron Breakker had to win. Had Bron Breakker not won this, I would have been like, what are we doing here? What's going on? This one shouldn't have been a surprise. So Bron Breakker wins this match with a spear. Again, this was a nothing match in my opinion. So we end up getting Bron Breakker in the Iron Survivor qualifier, and the men are also having a second chance match. So we'll see who that fifth person added to the match will be. Right now, I feel like I still think it's Trick Williams, guys. Like Dijak, Trick, Josh Briggs, Bron Breakker. I still think it should be Trick Williams to get the win here. Maybe that'll change again when they announce the fifth person, but that's where I'm at right now. All right, let's see what people are saying. And this is from Sheldon Jackson, who says, so last time I said I was 30% with JC Jane. Yeah, back down to like 2% of a fan of JC because she's done nothing. And I'm kind of like, with her now. Like I said, they need to spice things up, guys, with the JC Jane, Thea Hale, Chase U University story. And I think that if Thea Hale is all of a sudden the bad girl behind Chase U's downfall, it could spice things up a whole lot. So we'll see. Sheldon Jackson, thank you so much for sending in your percentage and a super chat. Will Chisholm says, with the new people in the Iron Survivor, I think it's food because good. He says, I think it's good because the people that was in it last year. Mr. Ether, what are you trying to say? On the main roster or in storyline? Wait, Will Chisholm, I'm so sorry. I don't get your last sentence that you're trying to say on this super chat here. You don't have to send in a super chat, but if you can just write it in the comments so I could properly understand your super chat here. Sorry. But thank you so much for sending this in. I thought last year's Iron Survivor Challenge was really good. And let me pull up the, because I'm forgetting everybody that was in it. Iron Survivor Challenge, NXT. Oh my gosh, I forgot how to Google. So, okay. So for last year's Deadline, let me remember who the hell was in that match. Who the hell was in that match for the men and the women? All right, hold on. Okay, so for the women, it was Roxanne, obviously, she won. We know that. Zoe Stark, Cora Jade, Kiana James, and Indy Hartwell. See, I had forgotten that Kiana James was in the first one. Cora Jade, we haven't seen her in a bit. Indy Hartwell, she moved on to the main roster. Zoe Stark moved on to the main roster. Roxanne Perez ended up going on to win the NXT Women's Championship. So that's what happened last year. And then for the men, obviously Grayson Waller, but the other people that were in there were Carmelo Hayes, who I originally thought was going to win this match, JD McDonough, Joe Gacy, and Axia. It's so crazy to think about where we were at last year and who ended up doing what. So anyways, that was last year's Iron Survivor Challenge. Will Chisholm says he meant to say either they are on the main roster or in storyline. Okay, thank you so much, Will Chisholm. Thank you so much for sending that in. You're right. We just looked at those competitors right now, and it's true. A lot of them are on the main roster or in some given storyline. Will Chisholm, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. And sorry I didn't get the second part of your super chat. Stephen Marchuli says, Trick wins Iron Survivor. Mello cost him the belt. I like that because I want to see Trick Williams get the win. I think he's kind of the best option right now. And Mello costing him the belt would be like the official moment because I still don't trust Carmelo Hayes in any of this at all. And we might as well get into that right now. So the whole situation with them is that obviously there was the attack on Trick Williams. For the longest time, we all thought it was Carmelo Hayes. I still think it was Carmelo Hayes, even though Lexis King took credit for it. And a video from NXT Anonymous came out where Lexis King is seen following Trick Williams. But here's the thing, guys. You know this. I watch murder documentaries. That still does not tell us that he is the person that attacked him until we actually see a video of Lexis King physically being the one to attack Trick Williams. That is when I'm going to believe that it wasn't Carmelo Hayes. I still think it was Carmelo Hayes that attacked Trick Williams. Right now, Lexis King seems to just trying to be ruffling feathers in the roster. He seems to be wanting some attention. And so I still don't think Lexis King is the one who did it. I really don't. Someone says maybe he did it for Mello. He could have done it for him. But I just like maybe he paid him or something, who knows. But until we actually see a video of somebody attacking him, that's when I'm going to believe who or who not did it. But right now, that video was just stalking him. That was all he did. He just followed him. That was it. But anyways, Brooks Jensen versus Lexis King is a match that we end up getting. And during this match, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams are watching from the back. Carmelo Hayes runs out there and he's like fed up with Lexis King. He wants to get his hands on him for what he did to Trick and what he did to him and costing him his opportunity in his match. So again, I do not trust Carmelo Hayes in this at all. The tension between them is still very weird in these backstage segments. And they're doing a good job of making you know that there's still that lingering doubt is in the air. It really is. Thank you. Hunter Tillman says Carmelo is acting hella sus. Hell yeah, he is. Hell yeah, he is. Fernando Zaya says it's totally Carmelo who attacked Trick Williams. Zeno Hour says Melo is innocent. Crying emoji face. Oh, man. Let's see. Dominic Carranza says, what if who attacked Trick is someone no one expects? Like who? Who? Scripps? We haven't seen him in a bit. Oh, wait, he's Reggie now. I think he's both. He's going by both Reggie and Scripps. I'm trying to think who else would be somebody that would attack Carmelo Hayes. Nope, who would attack Trick Williams? Nope, it's got to be Carmelo Hayes. He is not innocent. He is not innocent. All right, guys. Let's move on from this. Let's get into Joe Gacy. So Joe Gacy has been doing this new character, and his new character is that he doesn't know who he is. I think that's the new character. All right. Don't take my word for it. That's my understanding of this character. Last week, we all thought he was going to commit suicide and jump off a building. I'm not kidding you. That's literally what we saw last week. He threatened that he was going to jump off of the performance center. I'm not even joking. This is real stuff. I'm not making this up. And this week, he is underneath the ring and he is like recording himself on his phone and he's underneath the ring. And so the match is ongoing. I think if I remember the timing of the show, it might have been the Ilya match that was going on during that. I don't know, whatever. So Joe Gacy is underneath the ring. He shoots a video and he says that he wants to know if we forgot about him. And he says he wishes that he didn't care what other people thought about him, that he is suffering from internal troubles and that he does not wish this on his worst enemy, although he doesn't know who his worst enemy is. And then we're seeing a women's match between Ariana Grace and Carmen Petrovic. And as this match is going on, Joe Gacy comes out from underneath the ring and he steals the ring bell, the same ring bell that was stolen earlier on in the day by Roxanne Perez. But this time he fully goes on, grabs it, takes it, and runs away. And Ariana Grace, by the way, who I want to shout out for a second here. Ariana Grace has some great facial expressions. Holy cow. I love her facials. She had the most I'm so goddamn irritated of you face when she was looking at Joe Gacy than anyone I've ever seen before. She was disgusted. She was annoyed. I loved it. I loved it. So Ariana's pissed because he takes the bell from the match, okay? And we go to commercial break. We come back. We finish off this match. And Ariana Grace gets the win here. And when she gets the win, there's no one there to ring the bell. So they announce her, the ring announcer announces her, and then out of nowhere, Joe Gacy comes out from the crowd and he starts ringing the bell super loud and obnoxiously. And Ariana is super pissed and irritated that he's doing that. But that's it. He's doing that. So is Joe Gacy lashing out to get attention? Is that what we're seeing with Joe Gacy? He's so lost and confused that he's just trying to lash out and get any sort of attention that he possibly can. I think that's the character. I don't think I really know. John Deller says she learned from her dad, like father, like daughter. I think that's the saying. Oh, man. Let's see what else we got here, what people are saying. There's not really anything else that I think people are saying about this. MD says Joe Gacy has lost his marble. Gacy's marbles have been done lost for like the longest time. For the longest time. And so, yeah, that's about it, guys. There's not so much to talk about this until we find out what they're really doing with Joe Gacy. Cosmic Joe Chronicle says Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis would make a great team. I'll tell you what, Cosmic Joe, I had forgotten about Dexter Lumis. It's been a while since we've seen Dexter Lumis. And I feel like his character had a shelf life. And I had said it before, like before he even went to the main roster, his character has had a shelf life. And we saw that. And they kept, when you have them just go out there and do the exact same thing for like over a year, you got to do something different. You got the creepy staring face. It got old, in my opinion. And the storyline dried up. And on the main roster, it dried up even faster. And so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I hope that when they do bring back Dexter Lumis, that they do something different with him. I really do hope they do something different with him. All right, so let me see what else we got here. And oh snap, guys, that is all of NXT. That is it. That is the entire show and what went down. I have been noticing that they've been doing like lesser segments. I feel like they've been letting things breathe a little bit longer, because there was times where I would come on here and we would have like 12 different topics for NXT. And now we're sitting at like 5, 6, 7. We had cut a few today. We had like 8. But usually there's a lot more in terms of like different things to talk about for NXT. But now with the tournament, it's taking up a little bit more of the body of the show. And so they've been doing a good job of kind of slowing down the pace of the show, which I don't mind it. I like fast-paced shows. It's part of the reason why I really enjoy Dynamite as well, is that I love a fast-paced show. It just keeps me interested and it keeps me on my toes in terms of like, I'm not going to get up and go to the bathroom or stop and have a conversation, because I know that if I do that, I'm going to miss like 3 segments. So I like fast-paced shows. But anyways, let's see what people are saying here before we close out this show. Jay Stone says, I still think Wes attacked Trick. Trick and Mello paid him no mind when he was backstage moping to them that time before he disappeared for a few weeks. See, I don't think it's Wes Lee, because I think Wes Lee, he's like a really great babyface. And they need some good baby faces on NXT. And so I feel like he's so far off doing something totally different that I don't see it being Wes Lee. But I do like your theory behind it, because it has like it offers something a little bit different. But I think the story would be a little bit disappointing if it wasn't either at the hands of Carmelo Hayes or at the command of Carmelo Hayes. It has to have Carmelo Hayes involved somehow, whether he forced somebody to do it, like you mentioned here, or if he, like, I don't know, did it himself. I would prefer for him to do it himself, though. Jay Stone, thank you so much for the super chat and for sending this in. All right, and that's pretty much it, guys. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. See what people are saying. Mashi says, what happened to the schism? They're undone. They already finished that off. That's done with. I know they didn't really have, I feel like the finale could have probably felt a lot stronger. I felt like it just happened. Like the schism was over. Like that was it. Yeah. All right, everyone. That is NXT. Before I go, just a friendly reminder that I will be back tomorrow with Righteous Reg. We're going to go ahead and get into AEW Dynamite. The Continental Classic continues. Gold League matches continue, so that should be very fun. On Thursday, I will be live for a special podcast at the end of every month, at the final Thursday of every month. I've been starting to do a women's wrestling podcast where we kind of cover the best of women's wrestling for that month. That returns this Thursday. And we'll be talking about the best of women's wrestling for November 2023. And then I'll be back on Friday for WWE Smackdown. And then I'm thinking about doing a Sunday show because I'm going to be working another job on Saturday. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to cover Collision on Sunday, depending on how all of that goes. So I'll figure it out and I will keep you guys posted on what I decide to do for this weekend. But before I go, though, friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't gone yet to Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a review. I am literally 5 reviews away from 100. 5 reviews. And if you do decide to write something, I will go ahead and read it here on the show. And if not, then you can just leave a star rating. It really helps out the channel a whole lot, helps the podcast rank a lot higher, helps me get some more sponsors and all of that good stuff. So if you guys have the time, the link is in the description box below, and it works only if you have the Apple Podcast app. So if you have the app either on desktop or mobile, that is how you can go ahead and leave a review. But that's about it for today, guys, and I will see you back here tomorrow for AEW Dynamite conversation. Bye, everyone. Have an awesome day.